Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and it's time for part 2 of our summer tubbing or patio pond or binning on a budget series. I wanted to give you guys time, if you were going to do this along with me, to be able to source your tubs. Now, when it comes to filtration and placement, which are the things we're going to talk about today, there's a few things that you need to think about. Let's start with placement. As I've mentioned in previous videos, 6 hours is considered full sun. Now, with the small volume of the tubs that I showed you in the last video, which I'll put a link to, a card here and a link in the description if you want to watch that first. With those small volumes, I generally don't put them in full sun. Now, this can limit the ability to grow some plants, but there's still a massive range that we can grow when they're not in full sun. So the goal for the placement of the tubs that I'm setting up as an example for you guys is that they would get, 3, maybe 4 hours of full sun each day in order to be able to grow really great marginals, keep underwater plants alive, but not get too hot. So I've placed them on my deck here and by the patio. I've been watching how much sun they get. Now, my yard is absolutely full of huge, mature trees, so it's a bit of a struggle to get enough sun, except for where we've cleared the yard for the greenhouse and my bins. Now, as for filtration, the reality is you don't have to use it as long as the tub has a good surface area. A wonderful example of that is the 40-gallon Tough Stuff tub that I picked up to show you guys. Now, that doesn't require filtration, but you would need to be aware of the fact that mosquito larvae will develop. Last summer, I showed you BTIs, or the mosquito granules, that work really, really well for controlling those. And the reality is, if the fish are big enough, they'll also eat the mosquito larvae. But it is something, if you're not going to filter, that you do have to address for public health concerns. Now, there are a lot of options of pumps and filters. In my big bins, you guys know I use sponge filtration. In my greenhouse, I use sponge filtration. And that's mainly because I'm running a whole lot of tubs. If you have a power source near where you're setting up your tub, getting a simple little power head kind of thing with a pre-filter works wonderful. There's all sorts of little pond pump kits that are sold. Those work great. And if you don't have a power supply, there's even solar powered pumps available. Now, one thing I will caution you about any of the pumps that have a fountain type feature, which I'll show you in a future video, is that if they're not perfectly centered, or if it gets particularly windy, it can blow the water out of the tub, which of course is to the detriment of our tubs. We want the water to stay in there. So you have to pay close attention, and you do need to clean them out frequently so they don't become occluded or clogged and stop functioning. So let's take a look at some of the choices that I picked up today, talk about why I chose them, and all of them were under $20, so they're all very duplicable for you guys and appropriate for small tubs. Let's take a look. Let's also take a look where I placed the tubs and discuss why. Now, this is the 40-gallon Tough Stuff stock tub, and I really, really like it. And I've placed it here beside the patio and around the corner from all my other bins, simply because I had a great flat spot here, and I really think that once these plants grow in and I add more plants, and we'll talk more about plants in the next video, this is going to add some really cool visual interest for both my cats in the patio and for us while we sit on our deck. I placed the small little resin barrel here, mainly because this spot is pretty heavily shaded. So I'll choose low light plants for this container, or maybe even just floaters, maybe something like water hyacinth and some salvinia, both of which will flower and be quite attractive. And this is one that would be very easy to not filter as well, but I think I'm going to, just so that I can show you guys some different examples. And then I placed the third tub here. Now, this one I never have worked with before. This is the muck basket. And it was certainly one of the most affordable options I found for summer tubbing. And I think I may stick a small version of a lily in here, which would cover that entire surface. But again, we'll get to plants next week, in next week's video, hopefully. I may have to wait a little bit longer for that one, as locally the plants aren't available until the end of April. Now, I would think it's important to mention to you guys that most people don't really get heavily into summer tubbing until early May. So we're getting a jump on this just so that I can show you guys some options. Now my goals for this series are to keep the total cost of the tubs under $100 and to also show you a bunch of options that you may be able to find locally or online in order to create your tubs. So to stay with that theme, we're looking at Tractor Supply, and they had a bunch of different tubs, or a bunch of different fountain pumps of various sizes that were pretty affordable. This one looked to be pretty darn decent. Now, since we're not actually trying to filter the tubs so much as aerate them, we just need to make sure it has a turnover rate of, 4 to 6 times, up to 10 times an hour, in order to make sure that the water circulation is adequate and we're preventing the development of mosquito larvae. There's a bunch of fountain kits as well that were pretty reasonably priced. And I may try and pick one of these up. I'm not sure yet. I have to go to my local Tractor Supply and see what's in stock. It is, again, still a bit early in the season, but there's a lot of options here. Now, as I mentioned, if you go with one of these features that has this sort of lift tube that goes out of the water in order to create the fountain, you do have to be very conscientious of your water levels to make sure that you don't accidentally empty your pond should it get particularly windy. That being said, this one with lights and it has a pre-filter and everything like that looks like it's a pretty good deal. I haven't actually used these before, so we'll learn together, but it seems like it's a good option. Now, if you want to go the more traditional route, they also just have large pumps, and these you could either attach a fountain attachment, or you could probably put on some sort of sponge pre-filter or things like that in order to diffuse the water. This is also one that you could attach to a weir or like a waterfall feature on the side of your pond, and I'm thinking about doing a DIY of that. So let me know down in the comments if that's something you guys would like to see. Now on to Lowe's. While I was there, this was in stock and it was only $14.98. However, it looks as though it's now become $20, and I picked up this little kit which is similar, or maybe even the same one that I saw on the Tractor Supply ad, and I think I'm going to use this in my little resin whiskey barrel. It's a very low power pump, but again, all I need to do is circulate some water in order to, mix the temperature and prevent that mosquito larva. For $20, this is a really, really cheap solution, but again, it's only a 70 GPH pump, meaning, it's not going to turn over that much water, so it's certainly not a filter. Again, we're mainly looking at pumps here. Now, I also went on to Amazon and I found this 400 GPH fountain pump, which I thought would be good for that Tough Stuff tub. Again, that would give us about a 10 time per hour turnover rate. When I bought it, it was $15.99. It's currently unavailable, but it just gives you an idea of some things that you could purchase. And I'll keep an eye on this or look for comparable in order to provide a link for you guys. Again, this is one that you would have to either add the fountain feature or just let it jet into the water in order to circulate things. And it was a really, really affordable solution. $15 is practically nothing for this size pump, so I'm hoping it's pretty decent and has some okay longevity. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you was the potential for the solar water pump. I've never used these, but I figured for $15 I'd pick one up and see how it worked for you guys. For those of you that rent and don't have power on your deck or whatever, this may be a really great solution. Again, I'm not sure how well they'll work. Most of the reviews say you need to clean them frequently. For me, that's not an issue. For you, it may be. But for $15, I figured it's worth trying. Now, I am not sure either if my tubs on my deck will get enough sun for these to actually function. So we'll have to learn together if they work or not. As always, I want to hear from you guys. What are your favorite solutions for filtering? Do you have any great tips for that? Make sure you subscribe with that notification bell on so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, and stay tuned for a continuation of this series. So this is the little Smart Pond container fountain kit. This is the one I paid $15 for, but is currently $20 at Lowe's. I'm just going to go ahead and assemble it. We'll put it in the little whiskey resin barrel and see how it works. Now, it comes with these little feet that you can screw into the bottom, which I'm definitely going to use. And the thought is that if I keep this off the bottom, perhaps it'll suck up a little less mulm that will accumulate in the tub over time. As you can see, it has a standard sort of pump, and then it has this porous sponge pre-filter, which will be good to prevent any fish from getting sucked up there. Next, you put in this little adapter, making sure it's well seated. That's what connects to the pump and allows the water to come through. Put on your little lift tube, and then whatever fountain attachment you want. There's a bunch of different ones. I'm not entirely sure which I want to use. It comes with 3. This looks like it's more of a spray. This would be more of like the bell fountain. And I really have no idea what this one does, but it doesn't have any sort of diffuser, so we'll just toss that over there. So let's go ahead and stick that into the tub and see what it does. So this is the pump with no fountain feature. Let's try the water jet one first, the sprinkler one. Whoa. As you can see, like what I was talking about, this one would definitely cause water to go out of our container, so would not be my choice. And then we have the bell one, which you can adjust by raising or lowering that. And that's okay, and it does add a nice auditory sound, as in it sounds good. But I think my preference would be to take off this tube entirely and just let the surface ripple like that. So that's what we'll do. So this is the $15 1400 GPH pump I bought off Amazon. You can see there's not really any frills here. I'm going to have to run a cord behind the Patio, which should be exciting. But it does have 400 GPH, and we're going to set this one up in the 40-gallon Tough Stuff tub. Now this is one, whoops. Now this is one that I may attach tubing to and make like a DIY waterfall box. So let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see me try and do that. It's not something I've ever done. You can see there's 2 different size outputs depending on what size hose or how far you have to pump water. Since my tub is shallow, I'm going to go with the smaller one. If I was trying to pump much higher in a deeper tub, I'd probably go with this larger one. You can see the suction cup feet work pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and try and fish this cord behind the Patio in order to plug it in, and we'll take a look at see how it works. So this cord is too short. I can look at it and see that, so I'm going to have to figure out an extension cord solution. Alright, so I ran to the hardware store and picked up an extension cord. Let's see how this baby works. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. So that's it with the pump the whole way down. You can hear it has a really nice sound. And again, I think this pump is high powered enough that I could do a waterfall feature on this tub if I'd like to. So again, let me know down in the comments below if that's something you'd like to see. But for now, it certainly is giving more than adequate surface agitation in order to get good oxygen exchange as well as prevent mosquito larva formation. Now my solar pump hasn't come yet, but this is from the reviews on Amazon. And I think this is what I'm going to put into the Tough Stuff tub, so stay tuned to see how that works. I think I may do a does this thing really work sort of thing on some of these products. So just to recap, pick a spot in your yard, garden, or patio that has at least a little bit of sun, but maybe not full sun, especially if you're using a smaller volume tub. And don't be afraid to try some of these cheaper options. The goals for this filtration in our ponds is not like it is in an aquarium. We're not really looking for it to clean the water as much as we are looking for good circulation, adequate oxygenation, especially for if things should get warmer, and to prevent formation of certain bug larvas. As always, I hope you guys have gotten something out of this video. It's been really fun for me to set up these smaller tubs again. And stay tuned for the next installment, which will be planting. As always, thanks for your continued support.